Okay.
So from here, we can go into topic 3, which is a user-submitted topic.
Yeah, so Christopher Tele, however you pronounce his name, asked us, what do we think of... Here, I'll word for word read it. I don't actually have my phone. Let me find it real quick. So, interesting topic for next week, or any other week, would be your opinion on multiple K-pop companies venturing into the Japanese market and thoughts on the reasons why groups like Kara, TVXQ, and SNSD in the past, and Twice and BTS in the present day managed to do extremely well. Does BTS have Japanese stuff?
Yeah, they have Japanese original
Remember
songs.
they put out like 2 albums in Japan.
I didn't even know that.
Full ones.
I did not know that at all. But yeah, so, and before we get started, answer our social media poll that's pinned everywhere. Pinned on Twitter, pinned on this comments stuff. So yeah, I guess background, if you don't really know, Boa was the first one to get like really big in Japan out of Korean like artists. I'm sure there were other groups before her that did stuff in Japan, but Boa was the first one, I think, to just blow up and become huge in Japan. To the point where she was basically like just promoting in Japan for a while.
Yeah, she released more Japanese
Korea for a while. But then like I groups, it wasn't really a thing until Kara, I think, really made it a thing for at least girl groups. I can't speak on guy groups nearly as much.
TVXQ is probably the guy.
Yeah,
the
TVXQ is huge. I think Super Junior did some stuff too.
Yeah. Well, TVXQ back when they had more than 2 members, basically.
Oh, yeah.
When they were mostly known as like DBSK.
Yep. But yeah, Kara, after their first couple of songs, once they started doing the more like EDM stuff with Mr. and Lupin and what's the other one? There's 3.
I don't know.
Jacob's zoning out. He's falling asleep.
Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, like Kara really picked it up with Mr. and stuff, and they got big, to where they just they focused on Japan a lot more than Korea too, actually.
Yep. SNSD did that for a while,
and then
too.
Yeah, SNSD obviously was huge in Korea.
It actually got to, because I got into SNSD while they were doing that.
Yeah,
and it actually got me, because I fell in love with them with their Korean music.
Yep.
And like it was getting to the point where I was like, what the hell? Why are they why are they only releasing Japanese music?
Yep, I was in the same boat, because it was, you were getting into them, and then they did Mr. Taxi and Paparazzi and the Japanese versions of all the Korean singles.
Yeah.
And then started releasing like all the 2 albums.
And then boom, I Got a Boy. They're amazing again.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean, they were amazing the whole time, but like,
in that span though, again, like we were talking about when we were ranking all the Soshi albums, there are some Soshi Japanese albums that were way better. They're like top 5 for me.
And then there are some Soshi Japanese albums that are way worse. And by some, I mean one.
Yeah, like the third one.
Yeah, the worst album.
Love and Peace, I think is what it was.
But it does have one of their best songs.
Girls and Peace is amazing.
Girls and Peace, god tier.
But
Girls and Peace is probably one of I'd say one of the best like K-pop group Japanese albums ever. Like don't at me, like don't even at me on that one.
But Love and Peace does have Galaxy Supernova, one of their best Japanese songs.
Yeah, that I'll give you.
But yeah, so they blew up, and Andrew can speak on this more, but like in Japan for J-pop, like at least in my like the way I see it is like it's way more about girl groups than guy groups. Like I don't ever hear about male J-pop groups.
They've definitely
like ever.
It used to be that like before the advent of the AKB, which we'll get to later, the AKB48 and co groups, it was mostly just groups that would be spin-offs of Exile, because basically Avex kind of like runs like the industry in some way, which is why a lot of K-pop groups and K-pop companies signed under Avex. But it'd be like Exile, like the different like generations of like JSOUL Brothers and like that sort of thing. But yeah, pretty much once the notion of large like multi like everyday idol you can meet type groups came in. Yeah, it's just mostly most of like what you hear is girl groups nowadays. So it's just, which is why like it's there might be some like guy group equivalents to AKB, but I don't know how popular they are. That's kind of a blind spot for me. But I mean, AKB's popular enough. The concept of AKB is popular enough that they're literally just like copying it like over and over and over and over and over again to like different parts of Japan. So,
yeah. So they obviously got big, and then I feel like it kind of became stagnant for K-pop groups in Japan. Like it was like SNSD was releasing stuff, Kara was releasing stuff, and like that was really it. I mean,
that's a bunch
and
of
like
random
A-Pink
stuff. Yeah,
A-Pink put out a lot of good stuff too. But yeah, like
back when YG groups were releasing music,
yeah.
they like Big Bang has a huge following in Japan. Like they went so far as to give them different like specific Japanese stage names because they can't really pronounce. They can't really pronounce some of them. It's like, yeah. So, like D-Light.
G-Dragon's still just G-Dragon, right?
Yeah.
G-Dragon, just top, T-O-P.
Yeah,
and it's like V. Isn't it?
Daesung's like
Sungri is V, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
before we got
BTS.
Yeah, I know. Daesung is like
D-Light.
Delight. Yeah, that's right.
D-Light. D-Light though.
Yep. Yeah, D-Light.
Yeah.
Which is just weird, but yeah. So like, I feel like it was all the Gen 2/Gen 1, depending on how you want to organize your gens.
Did we talk about Boa?
They definitely laid the foundation for it.
Started with. They laid the foundation, but I feel like until this current groups, like these groups, they're that like the in between groups didn't put out stuff there. Like I feel like people like EXID and like that area group of groups didn't put out anything in Japan.
Yeah, because even like new groups like freaking like SF9, they're releasing Japanese music because I feel like K-pop is
K-pop's bigger than ever.
Yeah. So yeah, it's grown, and then now we're at this point where K-pop's so big, and the groups you mentioned like BTS and Twice are enormous. That like, I mean, for Twice it was obvious. They're the cutesy girl group. They fit the J-pop like market perfectly. They have 3 Japanese members.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest part. Once they started pulling,
that's the whole point of putting the 3 Japanese.
members in there. Yeah. That's why they started pulling that's why they put American like Koreans like Tiffany or Jessica in SSC so you could appeal to the American crowd. That's why they pulled Jui in Twice. That's why they pulled like Chinese members in any sort of group.
There's Chinese members in every group now.
Yeah, because they're trying to. They understand the international nature of the market is so. Yeah, that's an easy sell for them now. Why do you think like NCT is trying to put NCT has Japanese members now? And there's probably I would not be surprised if there's like a full on NCT like Japanese subunit. That would not.
Oh yeah, NCT Japan will happen eventually.
There's no way that doesn't happen.
If if the subunit thing doesn't fall apart, like if NCT China does as well as it should, then yeah, there's definitely gonna be an NCT Japan. Like, the only way NCT Japan doesn't happen is if NCT China and any other subunit they try falls apart, and it's just, like, they realize they need to stick with just 127 and Dream and U, like, the Korean ones that are established. Like, then that won't happen.
If they do a yearly, like, NCT thing, like NCT 2019, NCT 2020, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
I just feel a little sorry for some of the members because they don't get as much exposure, but... Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, like it for some groups, especially for girl groups, I feel like it's very obvious because like K-pop idol girl groups were very much inspired by J-pop.
Yeah, it did.
It was very much a mixture of J-pop and American pop, and so it made sense. And then especially nowadays, we're getting more EDM style stuff, which is much more J-pop. That for guy groups too, it makes sense. which is why like people like TVXQ went, because they always did that type of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
they were doing that.
TVXQ and Super Junior were always doing the super EDM.
Yeah, way before it even got popular in America. That's so weird.
Yeah,
that is so weird. Like there are K-pop groups there are J-pop groups that were doing the whole, like, back when they literally just called it techno. They were doing that whole style of music. Exactly. Before it got popular. That's crazy.
I mean, that's part of what like attracted me to K-pop at first, is everything was different and like super electronic. Like we didn't have that.
Yeah, exactly. I love how you pointed that out too, Andrew. That it was techno. Like EDM is a modern term for that type of music, but it was techno back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, because it's just the catch-all term just changed. But one thing I wanted to just point out as to, even before like the concept of BoA laying the foundation, like one thing, just in terms of culture, the one thing I feel like sort of helped. Well, I mean, one obviously is that like Korea and Japan have started to, like, they have normalized relations in comparison to like a long time ago when Japan was literally just occupying Korea. But there's definitely more of a culture exchange between the two countries, where anime gets shown in Japan, like K-pop and all these Korean dramas that get huge in Japan, basically. Where I mean, that's kind of just an Asia thing too, where like there are other countries Southeast Asia, like Philippines, like Japan, like where Korean dramas are just like the go-to sort of thing, even for like they'll dub it into like their native language.
They're like the highest production quality.
Yeah,
like dramas. Are in Asia, so
like
everyone watches them.
Yeah, so I feel like Korean dramas played a huge part in sort of like or getting the foot in the door in terms of the exposure or acceptance of Korean culture. So that's definitely like a weird and sort of like, but definitely helpful sort of thing. I feel like they were sort of accepting more of the TV aspect for the music, but I think also, again, like I feel like it wasn't just the artists they were just making music in Japan. I feel like the big part of it was they were integrating themselves into like the ecosystem, because you'd see like BoA, or like you see like Twice now, they're doing CFs for Japanese companies. They're doing like all these sort of promotions and everything.
Yeah, Kara did tons of promotions.
Yeah, I feel like integrating themselves into that ecosystem is what really helped expose them to the Japanese market, and like it definitely pays off, because again, marketing is just as like having high profile artists or idols or like actors promote any type of product is just as big in Japan as it is in Korea.
Yep. I felt like the vocals are a little bit different for this than normal. The vocals to me sounded a little more like just traditional poppy sounding. I don't know like how to describe it. I guess there just like wasn't as much flair as there usually is to a G-Friend song. But that's not a bad thing.
I think it's mostly because Yuju doesn't